Now, in April 2025, President Advocate Maboko appointed Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi as the Presidential Envoy for International Relations and Economic Development. This appointment forms part of the government's strategy to drive the country towards a high-income economy and establish it as a globally competitive nation through sound governance, strategic partnership and investment-led growth. Now, in studio this afternoon, I am with Dr. Kamalabadi, who has extensive experience and a strong track record in global affairs and economic development. My name is Kylo Saboni. Right, so Dumela.
Kylo.
Thank you very much for joining us. I think the first thing I want to start with in this conversation is to understand your role and your appointment as the presidential envoy, to understand what exactly the role is, what it entails, and how it's going to play out.
First of all, greetings and blessings to you and the audience. Yes, the role of what we call presidential envoy on international relations and economic development is actually an advisory role, it's a non-executive role, and it is expert role. Although I am stationed in OP, the idea is that the nation has all the wisdom and all the direction and all the drive and the impetus to raise the economy and raise it fast. So we have the experience in other markets where this has been done, and therefore that will have reference to the country. Again, I'm here on pro bono basis as a service. So we are here servants of both the government, including the constituents and the people and the populations. Especially my interest is how we elevate the youth and also the masses, populations and the rural areas.
All right. So now looking at this appointment, right, it comes at a time where the country has got some fiscal constraints that it's facing, and the president has boldly come out to say, look, we have targets of recovery and targets of growth. When you look at the economic outlook of Botswana right now, where do you think we stand? Do we stand a chance to come out? Because that's where we start having questions.
It is very important to believe that the Botswana leadership people have the wisdom, the knowledge and the know-how to withstand the tests and come back up. It is correct that for over 50 years, one singular product, and that is the diamond, served the nation. So unfortunately, the diamonds were not forever, although they will be. But the value has come down, and therefore one income has come down. That means the only problem, and it's only one problem that Botswana is facing, is the shortages of cash supply and also the vitality and the flow of the cash in the market, in the economy. So the solution is simple. When you have revenue down, you raise the revenue by other, what I call solid, legitimate pockets of new revenue generation. So we are focusing exactly on that. What are the new methods, mechanisms, sources of revenue, not just for the government, but for the entire economy and the populations and the masses?
All right. When we look at it, Doc, you're talking to raise new revenue, we need to be able to diversify a little bit from the diamond or mostly from the diamond. But are we diversifiable? You mentioned a very important point that we have the people and we have the willpower. But are we as an economy diversifiable?
First, diamond was never a curse, was a blessing. It educated the people. And you had education, infrastructure, everything. So in Africa, we were on the top. The idea is not to lose it. We don't want to go south, we want to go north, as it says. Definitely the diversification is possible on several reasons. Reason one, Botswana has at least 30 other top resources, each one of which could be even $1 trillion economy and industry. So not only we have diamond, we have coal bed methane, we have gases, we also have the copper belt, we have also all the, not just the minerals. So in the minerals itself, we have also even gold, even silver, even we have lithium, even we have rare earth, even uranium. So all of these are resources, each one of which, if they were developed a decade ago, today would have been cash. They were not developed. So now we are suffering from a bit of a mishap of the past, of not diversifying early. So however, all of these can become cash, but the key question is time. There is a natural gestation period. So some, like the Coal could be 5 to 7 years. Gas maybe 3 to 5 years. Copper belt maybe 2 to 5 years. So everything has its time frame. The key challenge before us is, do we have pockets of money generation that are earlier, within 1 year, within 2 years, so that we can tie over for it? And the answer is yes, there are.
All right. And the human capital that we have in the country, can it match up to the resources that you're talking about and the potentials that we are looking at?
I believe brings other questions. Botswana of the future is the Botswana of a medley of domestic knowledge, international knowledge, in union, not in competition. So definitely the whole country needs to open more. So we call it the open door policy. Without the open door policy, China will be still the poorest nation. They opened the door, but they kept primary economy in the hand of the locals, and yet they allowed for other international to enter in a large scale. Same thing Dubai. Dubai also opened the economy. But who benefited? The local Arab domestic citizens. They are a minority. Here, no. Here the international community is a very small minority. So the idea is that yes, Botswana has the acumen, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the training. And the only thing is that what are the new pockets of revenue? One good thing Botswana has is called high financial rating.
Okay.
If we keep that, we have everything. If we lose that, we will lose almost everything.
All right.
And we don't want to go there.
So you point out something. So we talk about economic diversification, but you also mentioned something important, which is diversity of people, where the doors open up. Diversifying or bring a mix of people to bring a diversity in the people. Will it work? And from how you are taking it, it will work. But the comfort of doing that, and I want to take your experience from this, especially coming out of China and the UAE. Can it work for us?
The first issue is that we cannot be prompted by habitual fear factor. Okay. Because fear is the #1 plague of humanity. And actually, if we are daring, bold, and we believe in ourselves, we open more, because in the competition we come above. Such as the American automotive industry was closed, was introverted, didn't want the Japanese car to be sold in American market, didn't want the European cars to be sold in American market. Therefore, they themselves lost the competition. So once they opened up, they did not lose, they actually won. Why? Because their own car quality came up fast, and they could actually not only gain more market share and not lose to the market of the international, they actually went overseas. They could actually even sell more in other markets. So the idea is that some fear may exist. I am here now 36% in unemployment. If I open the labor market in a large scale, foreigners come, will I lose and my 36% become now 66%, skyrocket? The answer is no. Actually, it's the reverse. The existing unemployment will be absorbed by the new initiatives of the international community that has come here. So that means don't fear that you will be even worse situation if you open to the international community. No, you will gain the upper hand. So, but that is an experience, a knowledge, a realization that once we are comfortable with, and then we open and we see that the results is not a loss of jobs, but actually first the existing local private people will become more entrepreneurial. Then the international players that came in, they actually also employ. And then they also create companies that are like Christmas tree. Not only one major bulk we call conglomerate, but actually involves joint ventures. Okay. So the concept of JV is the main way that China built up its economy. Right. That means that China invited the international, including China, Japan, Korea, the Chinese overseas, in America, even in Thailand, even all Europe, even the Arab world, they all came and invested. But the investment went in joint venture with locals. And they built the knowledge of the locals. So it was a technology transfer, management know-how transfer, and capital transfer, and it built. So it calls for what we call win-win-win. Nobody ended up with the short end of the stick. So the investors won, the receiving of the investors won, the operating companies that were local, they grew up much faster and became more independent. And so then now China can go outbound. Okay. See, that they had no ability to go outbound. I remember 1993, I was promoting China outbound investment. China will go and conquer the world in the financial sense. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they were telling me, no, we are scared. Don't tell us about that. Let's just get the foreign capital in. So early on, we trained them to become, again, the same thing. We need to move from a spirit of pessimism and misbelief, non-belief, to the spirit of bold, pioneering. We have to be the Botswana society that is what I call not receiver, not the passive, not complacent, but a go-getter, producer. And not only producer of surplus. So it becomes contributor and giver. God forbid, not beggar. So we change throughout the whole Africa. We have to change the waiting and receiving and the beggar mentality.
All right. Something you mentioned there, you keep mentioning pockets of revenue. That's supposed to come in. Are you saying that if we open up and allow the diversity of humanity, those pockets of revenue will come in and the economy will then be
large scale, they'll come in, and in a diversified engines, and engines that involve the locals. For example, one thing that we have very high advantage of. So we are the investment grade only nation on land of Africa. Only offshore we have also Mauritius. So this investment grade rating means the cost of capital is less and it is a safe haven. For God's sake, the only country that never had war, that was not colonized, that is safe haven. We say that we want to be the Switzerland of Africa. Let us in fact be the Switzerland of Africa. To do what? To open the banking to become offshore banking. At the moment, the banking can become open and therefore can receive as destination the global surplus money of savings and cash deposits. So we should become the savings and cash deposit destination of the world. Okay. And that means the rise of Africa, the safety of Botswana collected, the attraction of the silent monies, not only investment monies, not only private equity, not only sovereign wealth fund monies, but the silent savings money. Somewhere they are receiving under 1%. Here they can receive 7%, 8% on a large scale and revitalize that money into domestic and regional projects. So those monies can grow and augment, whereas those who put the deposits, they are receiving higher fixed return on their certificate of deposits. This is what happened in Dubai. This is what happened even in Singapore, also in Switzerland. Now, one nation that we can benchmark, a nation that was and is much lower than Botswana in financial quality, and yet they implemented to become offshore banking and the savings and cash deposit receptacle. That nation is Bangladesh. Okay. In 1 year, they collected $36 billion of cash from other countries, whether it was India, Asia, Hong Kong, other places, even America. We can do at least 3 times more than that, which means what? We can actually bring in possibly even $100 billion in the banks, in the savings. Of course, we need to make policies around it. So Bank Botswana needs to make policies, needs to make it as a drive and initiative. It cannot happen by itself saying, okay, you just come and deposit anyway. Why? Because now you have to be resident before you open a bank account. You have to take this barrier. So no barrier in high quality, good KYC, clean monies from the outside to be allowed to park as safe haven in Botswana. They park, Botswana activates it and utilizes it for BTAP projects, for the stock market activation, for the new private industrial development, more manufacturing, even more finance, more capital, more funds. So diversify the economy, it means activate it. Vitalization, vibration, velocity. If you shrink and shrink and shrink, and that means you put people in the straitjacket and say play tennis. Nobody can play tennis in a very...
The hands are tight.
Yeah, hands are tight. So money must be flowed into the economy and encouraged.
All right. Now, Something you mentioned is very important, that we have an advantage of our credit ratings, that if you look at most of African countries. Does that speak to our competitive advantage, or is there more to our competitive advantage?
There is more, of course. Yeah. That itself, we should be very cognizant that as diamonds were not forever in a 50-year period, this leading edge of Botswana is not forever. In fact, we have lost 2 times now, downgraded. We cannot allow 1 or 2 more downgrade. If we do become downgraded, sorry to say, we will become like Malawi or Burundi. We don't want to go there. That means it will be difficult to bring back up. So preserve the rating by adding buttresses of new value. Okay, once we have more revenue and more circulation, then the rating will go back up. In fact, in March, the rating agencies are coming back. If they look at the economy now, they may even this time another make a downgrade. So I am not a prophet of the doomsday. I am a prophet of hope. And not just hallucination hope, pragmatic hope. So Botswana can also do another thing. We have so many minerals, but we don't need to extract them first. Before extraction, now technologies of blockchain calculation. I call it registry, sample taking, and also logging, and therefore creating an inventory. The inventory of what is under the ground, before we take it out, can become bankable notes and floated and become tokenized and become monetized. So pre-monetization is like fast forwarding the futures of all of these assets and floating and exchanging it. That means on top of the Botswana Stock Exchange, we can also add like the NYMEX style mercantile exchange. And on top of that, we can make what we call digital virtual asset exchange. So that the value of the assets that are not extracted can become cash fast. There is a shortcut of making cash before even you dig the... So long as you are calculating it correctly, accuracy of calculation makes it a cash bankable note.
All right. Which then brings in this thing of tokenization of assets. We have assets and our resources are also assets. Can we tokenize, and can it actually work, and how will it play in to raising equity and funds for the country?
Yes. So the tokenization means fractionalization of value, and therefore a monetary value, what we call it, combined to the asset. So it's not just the asset, it's the what I call micro. It's like the body can be turned into what we call membranes, and then becomes cells, and then become DNA. The DNA of value is the tokenization. Now the calculation power in the world can give us this. Technology exists. They exist globally. They exist here. So this is called an enabler that will work as logging the assets in its fractional form. Not in the big macro volume, not total volume, but the fraction. And those fractions can become traded. Not just the dormant assets, even a real estate. So one building could be $100 million and 5 people own it. But the same building can be owned by 5 million people, each $1.
Everyone holds their own small token.
Yes.
All right.
So this is called fractionalization of the token. It's like the stock market, even deeper. Even further down, this technology exists, this model exists, the ability, the knowledge here exists, but it can be now applied. And in fact, we just take a few, what I call trial cases. So not only buildings, even land can become tokenized. Not only building and land, even agriculture can be tokenized. And the tokenization and the digital economy will also improve taxation, because there is no cash economy only. It is all recorded, very well clear, it's safe to carry, safe to exchange, and it is transparent. The transparency is also another win for the nation.
All right. So we need to drive this obviously, and you mentioned the 3 V's that you like mentioning a lot. Velocity being one of them, vibration being one of them. However, when we look at them, we need to be realistic to gaps that exist, and we need to be clear or actively clear about closing those gaps. What have you picked up in Botswana that we need to start closing now to make sure we match up to the 3 V's?
Yes. So Botswana is suffering from one phenomena. It's called over-centralization. The over-centralization was correct for the period that it was, because the precious asset of diamond was not stolen, was not creating the 31 tribes fighting with each other. That is called resource curse in other countries. Whether oil is discovered, becomes a curse. A lot of wars over it. Any other very high value asset is discovered, becomes a curse. In Botswana, it was a blessing. It was source of unity. One unified system in a democratic way collected the revenues and distributed it correctly. After a while, it became not like that. It became another form of limitation. That means the whole country didn't learn how to make new monies or how to generate new monies.
We're stuck in the nest.
We are stuck in the nest, very well pampered, taken care of. We have a billionaire uncle who takes care of us 50 years. Sorry, the uncle is ill, or maybe dead, but maybe ill. Maybe he will come back again, but we don't need to wait. Now we have to have many other pockets of income generation. Again, for sure, over time, we have no problem, because all the other assets, the blessing of Botswana is like, unlike the other neighbors, that they over-exhausted and abused the resources. We have fresh resources, untouched resources. So that means the wealth of Botswana is highest level, not only for this generation, not only for 5, 10 years, for even 50 and 100 years. So when you start the gas, you know, but the gas becomes like a new Qatar. But this is not touched. It's not the money today we can take. So the problem with initiatives of today is they have not understood the difference between private equity, that is slow, than fast cash generation. So savings and deposit is like the sand dunes. They move fast. Wherever is a safe haven, interest rate is high, the money moves within a few months.
All right.
Okay, the other one, digitalization of the dormant assets is also a fast money. Even what I call decentralization and privatization is a fast money. The other thing is that if the economy is sober and the fiscal is tight, it's like the dry land. You cannot squeeze water from the dry land. You have to bring water from the outside. So we cannot at the moment raise taxation so much. If we did, it is counterproductive. You see, if you have a towel and it's dry, no matter how much you squeeze, you don't get water. So we see in Botswana, if we want to raise taxation, it actually may shrink the economy. And it will be actually maybe slower down the economy, which needs vibration and velocity. So at the moment, we have to bring what I call pockets of pula or water or money from outside. And these are not to say we are over-reliant on foreign capital, no. One in the form of what I said, deposits that is not being invested, only being kept here, but high return for them benefit, for us we reuse it. But also the assets that are dormant, you know, the entire global digital blockchain crypto community has $3 trillion of cash. And we have an event here. It is the gaming event. That
the big summit.
Okay. A lot of these, they have billions of dollars in their wallets. But now they want to move into real assets. You see, the blockchain and crypto was all what I call vertical. They were crowd financing. But now they want to go to real assets. Where is the real assets? Botswana. If the Botswana is tokenized, they will buy a lot of these assets. They will activate. So it's another cash flow. The other forms of cash flow is that in the Botswana is not a poor nation. Okay? The government revenue shrunk fast. But in the community, who are the owners of money? Pension funds, they have money. Unions have monies, and also societies have monies. Even the international who came here 30, 50 years and built a wealth, they have money. But their money is now also scared of being activated. Even the stock market became like a savings deposit. It's not very, we have, you know how much money we have in the stock market? We have only 32 projects listed there. $50 billion is very large. If the 50 billion was in a savings and in a government cushion, and the government used it, it's not ideal because it would have been abused and wasted. So it is good that it is there, but if it has to be activated, but where to? to the private economy. I call it the champagne effect. Even foreign money comes in, even domestic money comes in, it must rotate and involve from the first cup and glass to the next 5, to the 20, to the 30. Inclusion of the private entrepreneurs, especially the youth, is a way of activating multi-engines. I call it multi-engines of growth of economy.
All right. Let's take a short break, Dr. Farzam. When we come back, we'll pick up our conversation and looking now, obviously, into how we move forward. Yeah. All right. That gives us a few minutes of a break. When we come back, we'll continue.
Welcome to beautiful Botswana, where the warmth of her people and wildlife is welcoming, where the vibrancy of her land echoes in the unforgettable voices of her people. Come and see Botswana in her splendor, a place to live, work, and invest. Botswana, our pride, your destination.
Only joining us in the conversation, Dr. Farzam Kamalabadi, who is the presidential envoy on foreign relations, or international relations rather, and economy. Now, we talked about pockets of revenue that are supposed to come in. But we know, like you mentioned, there is money somewhere. It's sitting somewhere. It needs to be activated.
Yes.
Where do we start? What is the best practice model that we need to start with? Because we know the unions have got money, pension funds have got money, but we can't just go to them and say, no, bring the money. We need to find a strategy.
First of all, good news. And it's actually a negative condition today, but it is good news. The condition is that I have gone to ministries and I have gone to the community and I have realized that for 5 years, even from the time of Mr. Masisi, even in the 1 year of the new presidency, there are minimum 500-700 money owner enterprises with intention to come and invest in Botswana. They have written expressions of interest. They have proposed MOUs, but all of them are like behind a dam. There is a big water, and the water is not coming to where the land needs the water.
So the wall is blocking the funds from flowing in.
The wall is blocking. I call it, this country is beautiful, multi-layer cloth, high-priced cloth, no needle to go through.
Okay.
No approvals.
Yeah.
The approval process in the country is too slow. I mean, there are companies who registered the office 2 years, and they come to me, they say, shall we close and go? Nothing has happened. No approval. Even a non-binding MOU is centralized, must go to one Attorney General system. And so there is mechanism change that Botswana needs, and needs it yesterday, needs it a year ago, and it needs to happen now. There are many good project proposals with money, with technology, with already studied the market. They don't need to wait and do search again. They are ready to come in, but they are blocked. We have to unblock them with an override system. In fact, we should have only 3 weeks time for any expert to review. If the project has a real booby trap or mistake or problem, we can stop it. But if not, automatically should be approved.
Okay.
I use the analogy. It's very important. Today, the Botswana model of project approval is called the automatic default is a no-go through. Block, block, block. What are the blocks? We can discuss.
Okay.
So, but the end result is so many projects, at least 500 projects, no-go through. Waiting, waiting, waiting in a reserve. So there is the dam, there is the water, and here is the irrigation field that is dried, and they need this badly. Okay, so if the default is automatic no-go through, changed to become automatic default must go through.
Okay.
Okay, it's like the analogy of Christian wedding. In the wedding they say, if anyone has objection, please raise your voice now or hold your peace forever. So if no objection is a go-through.
Yeah.
That model, even the Chancellor of the German just announced that we should have a very short time for approval projects. If there was no objection, automatically approve. In fact, in India, Prime Minister Modi, one of the keys of his success that people don't talk about was exactly this: fast tracking of the approval of projects.
All right.
And Botswana is the highest extreme end of no project approval.
But it's a very attractive country that doesn't allow things to go in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think growing up we used to hear the statement, we roll out the red tape, not the red carpet. How do we measure that though with due diligence?
You know, we have to be an understanding nation.
All right.
About understanding ourselves. Me as an outsider, I never criticize, I never look at the negative side, because I try to understand the theology of the phenomena. The phenomena was that Botswana had ideal society and has ideal society. Truly so among the other sister nations, even globally. That ideal society needs to be protected, needs to be prolonged, perpetuated, but not protectionism of like closing the door, becoming like Shangri-La. We don't want you to discover us. Even you know we exist, we don't allow you come in. It's like the film, you know, the cartoon Smurfette.
Yeah.
And we think all the outsiders are going to come and gobble us. And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a win-win-win. So that means this idea of protectionism that worked well, and still we can keep the wisdom of selective opening, selective closing. That means we should close against whoever will be scammers, whoever are low value labor, who are low value of capital or investment or enterprise, and yet open for the high value. There must be a selection criteria and a mechanism that opens the door fully, but keeps the screen. So I call it, the Chinese, we taught them, and they use a sentence. They say, because mosquitoes come in, or flies come in, doesn't mean we shouldn't open the door. You cannot close the door and suffocate. We open the door, but we keep the screen so that we don't allow the dirty things to come in. So it's a wisdom selection process that Botswana, whether the Ministry of Home Affairs, Labor and Immigration must learn, but definitely we are promoting the concept of much wider opening. Wider opening in the fast tracking of approval of process of all projects. So again, both domestic projects, initiatives that are self-motivated. So, you know, BTAP is a beautiful process of 6,000 projects and selected and being helped to come to realization. The one issue is that it still is centralized.
Yeah.
So we have to allow the individual businesses to come up with the idea, I want to roll this out. And give them approval, let them roll out. They go run and look for the capital. They go run, look for the market. It's called open door, market-driven private economy. And we have to have policies that actually encourages them. For example, lower taxation if they are private and they are new companies. Then many new companies will be formed. And even some of we had concept of joint ventures. We would therefore encourage the international capital, all the government capital, to form joint venture with the private companies to receive taxation breaks or to receive a better export rebate money. Okay. So China used to pay 13% export rebate, but not to every company. First to the private companies, then the government companies join the private companies. So it's called market-driven policies to encourage the rise of the private enterprise.
All right. But Dr. Farzam, all these things need to mechanize or digitize our due diligence. I think maybe, and this is just my thought, the vetting processes and the approval process might be delayed by the fact that our due diligence process is still very manual.
No.
We need to go digital.
Yes, digital,
okay.
Yes.
Yes.
But that's not the reason why they are stopped.
Okay.
They are stopped, one, because the habitual, the subconscious feeling of protectionism.
Oh.
So that's the what we call it, blanket reason. The second is there are those who profiteer from the approval. We have to talk about, there is always, every country has the possibility of those who are what we call it corruption. There is some level of subtle corruption, and therefore they hold the approvals. And there are other reasons that are, as I said, natural, the fear factor. So the idea is, for example, Egypt was like that, very close. They said, okay, it's not my money, it's their money. They are saying they will bring money. Let's approve all of them. Fast. Don't worry there is any booby track or issues. Let the market weed them out, not us. So there is one thing that I try to stop. The other one is that the market response will stop anything that is not correct. So it is the belief of whether we are a planned economy or a market-driven economy. So let's say the Botswana mindset is more socialist and communist than the communist countries.
Yeah.
That concept and the fear that if we change that, we may make some mistakes here and there. No. The mistakes will be self-adjusted. How will you... The big mistake is you close the economy, it becomes dry economy, you become the straitjacket and you cannot play tennis, and you become so poor that your rating will fall. So I need to give some warning. I am not a doomsday prophet. The warning is, let me use the analogy correctly. Okay? There is the beautiful Botswana, the largest ship as far as the quality, it is the Titanic. But there is the iceberg there.
Yeah.
The Titanic broke and many died, right? Whose fault was it? Was it the iceberg? No, the iceberg was there millions of years. Was it the ship? No, the ship was the largest secured ship. Very, by the time, at that time was the best. It was the captain and the citizens. Why? Because they didn't smell the bad signs, negative signs of the cold air and the ice. So they didn't see that the economy is falling. And so they are just fixing the chairs and the benches, not the entire ship. And when the moving, what we call maneuvering, took place, it was too slow. So speed is everything. In fact, what is the fear of shark when you're hitting the iceberg?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to use this analogy.
You're going to land there anyway.
Yeah, you will land in much better place if you opened. And opened approval faster, nothing wrong will happen. If we open more visas by allocation, and of course this can be done by decentralizing, making more layers of decision making. For example, decentralization. CESA, our special economic zones, should be very decentralized. That means they should have the autonomy. They should become like a ministry or an authority. In China, all the national special economic zones have a ministry. They have a minister, direct. Then you have to have your own land. CESA owns no land. And it actually moves the posts. And also must have your own favorable policies, tax breaks. And also you must have your own right to issue visas. You should have right to issue 10,000 visas. Okay, not 400 per year and centralized. So Botswana is faced with choices. To worry, to fear, to be conservative and move on because I'm afraid there are sharks and hit the iceberg and die totally. Or open up, don't be afraid, and you actually come to a higher level of order where your domestic private companies are activated. Remember, in Botswana, neither the government nor the state enterprises, there are 63 of them, nor the parastatals, 300, have learned how to make money. Not only we have to activate the economy and give the approvals, we have to make KPIs for every government entity. Every government entity should be a profit center or at least revenue generation center. They don't have to be commercial. So they don't need to become corporate, but they can become entrepreneurial. Even like NB Fira, I know their team, they are discussing, we are not a company, we will never compromise, we are independent, but we can be proactively looking for everything that we approve. We want more insurance companies, let's go out and get them. If we want more funds and asset management, let's go and get them. So they will be marketing.
Instead of waiting for someone to come.
All right. You have to become go-getters in every, as I said, government entity. All the PSs don't need to be the watchdogs, protectorates. They should become entrepreneurial, given an assignment, That was what we did in China. Every government layer, from the township village to the town, to the city, to the county, to the regional city, to the province, to the state, they all signed agreements, separately, independently, without a federal approval.
Right. But how do we then activate that? Because we need to activate it.
We need to activate, give the Ministry of Local Government full autonomy. That is another decentralization. I saw that they are working on the decentralization proposal for a year and more, and they are very wise. But the decentralization shouldn't be you give a federal authority to one ministry and remains there. Okay. And only stays with the minister. No, it must go down to the city councils. It must go down to the operating, basically landowners. So there will be a lot of autonomy, a lot of inter-regional investment. Why we want to give decentralization is not the political authority. It is the economic authority. Yeah. Because it makes creation of money faster and multiple channels. How we can raise money in the local governments is called local government bonds, green government bonds. These are not part of the ratio of debt to GDP of the nation. So we will not be hitting the rating to go down, but we can borrow more money. Not just borrow, we can raise more money. We can do what we call crowd financing in the local government under the regulatory framework of NBFIRA, under the regulatory framework, but fully free. Okay. Once you are approved and your methodology is above the board, you are free to launch revenue collection and reinvestment. You know, always these two sides. You raise money, why? Because you can invest well. So the money will not come to you if you don't know how to reinvest and give them dividends. Yeah. So let the market learning take place. We have not done though.
All right. So now, all these things we are talking to them, you are also hitting hard on BTAP. That BTAP now, 100 and something projects have been approved. They are a mandate to go forward. But some financiers will sit and say, I've tried Botswana before, this was not moving. What do we do with these projects to make sure that I know that they are a long-term, slow vehicle, and we also need a faster vehicle, but how do we at least get these ones to motivate the rest?
First of all, I will say, absolutely, I'm in favor of BTAP. Okay. I have always been. I brought 75 investors in 4 months, in 30 delegations, and they wrote 45 project proposals. All of them I gave to BTAP. And even Mr. Vice President, when I met him, I told him, did you see that I have given to Neledi and to the permanent? I said, yes, they told me, you are supporting. So let me not be misunderstood, because this is something that the whole government, a lot of wise people collectively decided. Yeah. And they formed out from the community, very good, diversified in very clear target industries. It is good for both mid-term and long-term. The only limitation is that in the short term, it doesn't generate money right now. But it doesn't mean we should so hit on it, no. First of all, what it does is that in the 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, it will diversify the economy. But because the rating may fall faster, and devaluation of currency could be very ruthless, we cannot wait only for them. So didn't mean put them in the back burner, no, no. We have to have, in Chinese we have a saying, 百花齐放. Let all the 100 flowers bloom at the same time. That means activate all sources of money generation. Okay? So short monies, that is savings, that comes and stays and we reinvest is one. That is the offshore banking we talked about. The digitalization of the assets and fractionalization of value, let the money owners, fractional ownership, activate it and utilize it, and the money goes. The stock market activation was another one, all the layers that we talked about. Of course, the other part is the privatization. All of this alongside with BTAP. And the BTAP itself, we need what? We need more. At the moment, it doesn't have money. The government doesn't have seed money to give to them. They need to look for money on their own. So they need to write good project proposals, clearly show that they are on top of the, you know, every private equity needs 5 reviews. Let's do these reviews in advance. Okay. One review is called technical review. Yeah. Then it's called legal review. That means ownership and the land and any other, if was there any debt before in it, any is a booby trap. So we will do the technical review, the legal review, the commercial review. That means is there a market for it? Is there an MOUs of purchase orders from the market, private and global on it? If there is a project with more pre-orders of wanting to buy the final product, sure, that project receives money earlier. So we have to do this homework ourselves, because otherwise the private equity has to do. Again, technical review, legal review, commercial review, return on investment review, even a partner, whether the partner is worthy or not. If the outside money wants to do these reviews, for each review they take 2 to 3 months. 5 reviews, 15 months will go, over 1 year.
So we need to be in the front of our game.
Yeah, we need to be in front of our games. What methodologies is in the front of the game? One, the projects that already did the reviews, already said we want to invest, they have the money to invest, and they are behind the dam waiting. So
we need to break the wall.
Break the wall quickly. Let them
All right. Time is not on our side.
I tell you a number of companies. There are companies who said they will come and put $20 million, register a company, then go and get the approvals of the projects. But at least approve my overall presence there. They have not received that one. There are many companies, like one that says that we will invest $500,000 for the basically Botswana to Namibia, what we call a railroad. Okay, give them the approval. 2 years they have registered the company, they are sitting here, they have not received the approval.
Okay, so we need to really activate now. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Farzam. I think we've moved it well, but I want you to close just in short on your 3 V's, because I think they matter a lot.
Yeah, so this is called an economist. Now I'm not talking about the emotional part of economy, the factual. When you are getting poor, don't increase the taxations. When you are poor, do open any gates that brings the money. Be it this cash generation of deposits, or the monies that people already did all the reviews and ready to put money in, and go raise more monies. At the same time, you are not in the general, I am not in favor of raising debt, but there are soft loans that are easy to pay back, and they are longer period, and they do not require the government guarantee. So find those pockets also. There are soft loans from Japan, from Canada, from many other countries, even UK. I know that there is a delegation of their export credit agencies here. So there are many other ways of temporary larger money coming in. However, I did not see the discussions. Nobody talks about new revenue generation pockets. We have to make that the dialogue. The dialogue. Also, the dialogue of the government intelligent opening, self-opening in stages. If we don't open, the government itself becomes the block to the country's growth itself.
All right. Dr. Farzam, thank you very much. I think those walls must crumble down now. Thank you very much for your time. And that marks the end of our conversation. Dr. Farzam, who is the special envoy, or presidential envoy in international relations and economic development in Botswana. Thank you very much for your time.
With the love for Botswana, for the Botswana, and for the nation, especially the culture of peace of Khotla.
All right. Thank you very much.